Welcome to the Queensland Racing Preview. I'm your host, Scooty Pippin, and I've got MJ in the house. What's going on under that beanie, MJ? You hiding the Nike swoosh earrings, or I've seen them from Daryl Hanson the other day in a couple of photos. You haven't got your ears pierced in the Nike swoosh?
No, not bad get up from D Hanson in a few of those photos that have been splashed across a few articles this week. That little cap that he wears and the gold Nike earring.
And the Oakley eye jackets. It's a throwback to the 1990s, isn't it?
Seems that way to me too. I thought I woke up in 1997 when I first read that article.
Quite weak in Queensland, you'd say?
What's new? Honestly, just another day in paradise up here. It wasn't that long ago that we had a leading Brisbane trainer come out and accuse his peers of being cheats, and then we get this. I would probably label it as sensationalism in some of these headlines that went out yesterday early.
Yeah.
Once again, our integrity, guys up here release this info through certain media channels. There used to be a certain scribe up here that would get the juice first, but it looks like he's been kicked to the curb for speaking ill of Curic, and now they're using RaceNet for putting out this information. And as the day wore on, we saw trainers come out with facts. And one trainer story I read in particular interest on Facebook from that trainer's Facebook page, saying that the inquiry was in January, and they received an email Monday and had until Friday to submit a plea.
Wow. And
he was actually charged with for buying a saline drench, which is not a legal substance, not performance enhancing substance, and can be used and can be administered to horses, outside of that 24-hour prior to its race time. So continue to shoot ourselves in the foot up here and generate bad publicity. Well, I just don't understand what's going on behind it. And then, we had a few weeks ago, Doomben made the headlines with an unnamed trainer being raided by the organised crime squad. There was no names attached to that in the press releases, no detail around that either. So it just, you can understand why people just wouldn't bet here when they just read those headlines. So major issue that Racing Queensland needs to get hold of and fix sooner rather than later before we continue to fall into the abyss and just become even less relevant than they already are.
Well, I guess at least the headlines in the papers sort of signal that the Winter Carnival's still got a breath of life up there. We've got the Glass House in a couple of weeks. I think we've got 3 weeks left. There's a Group 3 on the weekend. The fields are a little bit disappointing, I'd say, this week, but there's probably 3 good weeks left of Queensland Racing before it goes into hibernation. And, yeah, unfortunately for you, the workload doesn't stop. You were good last week at Doomben. Yeah, around 15% profit on turnover, which was great. You got the Gold Coast tomorrow with Toowoomba. So I hope you're in bed early, and I don't want to see you on the red wine on your Twitter account. You'll have a curfew tonight for sure. But then the racing opens up back to pre-COVID times, and you get more racing and stuff. So you're going to be flat out with the Mailbag. So that's good news for the punters at home. Plenty of turnover. You're sort of the knight in shining armour for turnover. I'm surprised they don't make a statue for you at Doomben or Toowoomba or somewhere. You'd be responsible for a heck of an amount of turnover.
Oh, just trying to do our best, and that's about it. I don't know about whether a statue, that's for sure. But anyway, look, it's good. It's good racing still. Like it's next. I'm really looking forward to this calendar getting back to back to sort of, like you say, pre-COVID times. Most of the action will be on the Friday and the Saturdays, which is great. So I could probably free myself up to have Monday lunch, like a long lunch on a Monday, and make up for the red wine consumption there, maybe. But
are you still seeing the PT from the Stratosphere days? Or
yes, mate. Yeah, I'm gonna
because you look good.
I'm going to post a video today. I'm doing 80 kg reps on back squats and deadlifts. I'm up to at the moment. So, I'm really getting into that big dog sort of territory at the moment. not losing any weight, but I'm certainly building strength, and the cardio stuff's going to start next week.
Nice to hear. Right, enough of the dribble. Let's talk Doomben racing this week. It's the rails at 4.5 metres. The forecast looks pretty good. Expecting probably a good 4. I thought the track played a little bit leaderish last meeting, which has been a bit disappointing because Doomben, I guess you can forgive it. It's been the standout track all year really, and it's played super super fair. So a little bit disappointing to see the bias. You still scraped out a win, but the first race that we're going to talk about, it's a bogey horse or it's one of our horses, Selamade. 2 starts ago, Orman at $14 couldn't get the job done. And then it's run into a really good one in Vanna Girl and just sort of kept coming for the line. So I'd say the extra distance suits Selamade. Is open up favour around the $3.50 quote. Wapiti is on the second line of betting. It looks probably the lay for mine. And the X factor would be Lando Bay from the John Thompson yard. You always have to respect Sydney horses when they come up and head up north. What were your thoughts in race 2 at Doomben?
I still gives me a twitch looking at that Selamade run 2 back at the Gold Coast but didn't win when we were on it at $14. Look, I suppose in this one for me, I think it's a bit of map and it's early in the day, so we're not going to have a really clear guide on the track. You touched on last week's track. You forgive anything in the back third of the field on settling, really difficult to make ground. And what we're going to see here is Lando Bay settle substantially in front of Selamade, I think, from the wide gate and, to get back horse normally anyway. So I just anticipate it's going to be last. Couple of speed humps sort of settle back with it as well. And then you've got Lando Bay going forward. No clear leader in this race that on the map for me, probably or maybe Tears of Love. No jockey on this horse yet, and it is accepted to run in Toowoomba on Friday in a week race. So I'm not sure where they'll go. They've got the stablemate, the minivan, accepted here from the Crop Stable with a jockey engaged. So if it doesn't take its place, we could see a slowly run race, and map favours will probably go to Lando Bay. That being the case.
Yeah, if they can. I think that the horse with superior turn of foot is Selamade. Only a poor steer would get it beat, and we've seen plenty of those. Looking at the puntingform.com.au data that I take notice of, I think it looks the one. But again, I just sort of, as Dicko says, I pray to Zeus, I pray to God, I pray to Harry Potter and all those sort of characters to try every time that Orman steps on a horse. It's just, you are in the lap of the gods. So surely, I think the safest play would be to lay Wapiti and then just see who fights it out. But
look, I'm not saying Selamade can't win. If Tears of Love comes out and you're with a 9-horse field, even if it does settle last, it's still going to be able to, with the right steer, it should be able to creep into the race. Build into the race and get not far off the leaders by the time, they let rip from the top of the straight. So, certainly can win. I'm not saying it can't win, but I don't know. I'm leaning Lando Bay at this stage, just ahead of Selamade.
You like a couple in the middle of the card. We might save them for the Mailbag subscribers a touch. Doomben Race 5 is an interesting one. I know you're a big Chris Waller man. You've got the Winks poster up on the back. You're always a fan of what Waller's doing in the races. He's only got the 4. Actually, he's got 5 runners. He's got Satano Razan, the Japanese runner, in there as well. These Waller staying events, are they good for racing, you think?
No, not for me personally. I don't know. No, I don't think it is good for racing, but surely it stifles turnover. I have no facts to back that up, but I can only speak about my own turnover, and it certainly stifles mine. How could you possibly bet into a race with 5 stablemates and not know the tactics of each one? The most favoured runner seems to go well. I don't know. Like Lejuge the other week was a great example. I think Waller had 17 of the 18 runners, and Lejuge, got the money. And the post-race narrative was, it was its race today because it was down in the weights and we were keen on it and whatever else. Like, it just drives me mental.
You can sort of grey yourself up.
Definitely. Look, not like it's like I'll be cheering Lapulga purely because Michael Costa trains it and Waller doesn't, and they've got 5, and I think it's a little bit of
David Goliath.
Yeah, look, it's always a little bit of cheer for the underdog. Look, I don't have no knock on Lapulga and what it's done. I think its horse is going well, and with a little bit of luck in transit, which a lot of these races are so even. Whatever gets the luck, can be in the finish. So, nothing of any strength, opinion-wise just yet. But
he seems to place his horses really well, Mick Costa. And looking at the stats in the database that I've got with punting form, the combination with Guthman Chester, or however you say it, it seems exceptionally well to place his horses, and he finds the right riders or the right sort of situations for his horses as well.
Yeah,
he's had that with Supergiant as well, and when Lapulga won last start, he sort of bobbed up and surprised a few. But
he's got a good strike rate. Costa, he strikes it. I think he's just had a quick look on punting form here. His career winning strike rate's about 17%, and the last 12 months, he's just tick over 20%. His last 50 runners, he's winning at 24%. So, a lot of that comes down to placing the right horse in the right race, and like you say, he's very good at doing that. And this horse has been pretty consistent. I sort of done nothing on the data to suggest that he's dropping off and in his performances. So, I expect it to run well again.
His stuff on Instagram is really good. He seems to be pretty honest about his chances and just a realist, which is pretty refreshing in racing. If we skip across to one of the feature races, the Sapphire Stakes, race 8, Baccarat Baby, sort of she just goes in favourite automatically. Hasn't won for quite some time now for maybe a bad ride here or there. But as you sort of touched on off air, D Van Dyke is nearly an auto bet when he places his horses in Queensland. He's got amazing stats. She's a strong runner. But then, again, he finds a tricky little field. So it's $4.50 Baccarat Baby, $5.50 Chrome, Tricky Gal $6, $7.50 Shawnee. Shood's an interesting one. I thought it was odd for this horse to have another run this preparation. Whether they're trying to bottom it out, I don't really know. But I thought it'd be set for the paddock. Delectation Girl, $8.50, and a horse that's massively out of form is Teleplay, $18, Red Steiner, $23, Barefoot, $23, and Better the Rest. It's definitely at this stage of its preparation, Baccarat Baby, I couldn't come into it and I couldn't have it as favourite, and $4.50 doesn't really appeal to me. What did you think of the race? Yeah,
look, just quickly, just to touch on what you mentioned about David Van Dyke, one of the key features of punting form that I like is when you can get in there and create a couple of systems, and you're able to pull some data on trainers and that sort of thing with all different factors. And just a flat look at David Van Dyke's statistics over the last 12 months, winning at 27% winning strike rate, and if you just flat stake every runner for the last 12 months, you'd be winning at 30% profit on turnover, which is
huge.
It's as good as any that I've seen. I do run a lot of stats. I love a stat, and the numbers that stable produces is unbelievable. There's examples. There's plenty of examples anyway, but that's the last 12 months. I mean, obviously they've got one good, a top liner in there, in Alligator Blood, which obviously, went at a pretty high winning strike rate last preparation. But overall, it's an amazing stat.
Are we going to auto bet Baccarat Baby, or are we going to let that one go?
Oh, I'll let that go. I might have to set up a little bot just with the just take the SP. That's working on SP. So
The Lucky Lucy form reads okay, and it was a good, not a bad run last start, but been up a very long time.
It has. Look, I've settled on one here in Crone. I'm pretty keen on it. Its run 2 back was really good. Savage late, just missed. Then last start, look, I'm happy to pen in its last start effort. Look, you have a look at its SP profile there. You know, it was $26 when it just got beat 2 back, and then it was around $14 last time. I think the gate was against it, and the mappers, were clearly against the horse, and it did drift a little bit. The form's okay. If you go back and have a look at the run, it was super. It wasn't beaten far. It wasn't able to take any shortcuts in the run at all. It was back and then wide and tracked wide, and really liked the way that it finished off its race. It was able to really dash up from the 6 to the 4 to try and get into the race a little bit when they quickened, and then it was still strong through the line. Obviously the draw, and Brad Stewart here. No knock on Jim Byrne, but obviously just the form that Brad's riding in, I think from the gate he'll just find the right spot. I just like the way that this race shapes up for it, and it's not favourite yet. I'm sort of anticipating it will be. I think it's a better horse than the stablemate Tricky Gal. Tricky Gal has got Bailey on, he notched his 101 half winner for the season in that midweek meeting at Ipswich. I just think he might be a little bit better horse than Tricky Gal, but like I say, it'll get every chance too with Bailey on it. And then you've got Baccarat Baby, like you mentioned, who I think will drift in the market. I think they'll push forward on it, but it's going to do a bit of work, and I think Crone will find itself in a stalking position somewhere just behind it, and I think Crone will start favourite. Baccarat Baby will drift, and I think Crone's the horse to beat.
Yeah, I think you've got, when I want to try and figure out when to bet, I think this is definitely a horse that syndicates will find. You've got Golan, Stewart. Statistically, it stacks up. You got it's going to sit more forward with Stewart on from an inside draw. Even coming off that higher SP, the drop back in class is good enough for me to say that it'll be starting favourite for sure. So I think you're definitely on the right path there. If it doesn't win tomorrow, you can sort of sack it for life, I would have thought.
I like that aggressive approach from you. Win or sack.
Yeah, well, it's just it just seems to be like the perfect storm, perfect setup, and it was for mine. If you look at the replays of the Dane Ripper Stakes, I just don't know he can be on any other runner. I thought Teleplay was a slight forgive, but I'm a little bit unsure whether a mile is what it wants. I sort of thought it was effective around the 1,200 or 1,400 metre range, so that's a little bit of a negative there. And I just know that Stewart's riding a little bit better than Carl at the moment.
Yeah, he's in amazing form, and I think a great pointer of that too is he's consistent, but his rides in the big races over the carnival, some of those rides, that ride on Ballistic Boy in that group race, that 3-year-old race a couple of weeks ago was unbelievably good. There's no one in better form.
No, and the ride on Gay's horse Dawn Passage was another beauty, and even like in the lead up to the carnival, there was heaps. Now, it's obviously a sticky one to talk about James McDonald's rides, but what did you think about the stewards through the week in New South Wales with the James McDonald? I thought it seemed as if the horse he was held up for most of this, for the early part of the straight. And then I don't know if you've seen the ride, but it doesn't look like there's anything in it at all. And then all of a sudden, McDonald's maybe facing a time on the sideline.
Yeah, look, he has a running and handling charge against him. I think they announced that during the week, which I thought was staggering. I didn't think the horse was travelling at any stage. I mean, he's arguably one of the best in the country. He's riding a horse that's seemed to be struggling to pick up in the conditions, when they sprinted, and he was back anyway. So he's sitting on the horse that's not going any good at the time, knowing that if I just try and pull wide here, I'm going to just lose more ground because I'm not going any good. So he tries to save a little bit of ground staying in a running line position, and then the horse was never going good enough. Look, I think it's an issue that racing has. But I suppose I take more notice in Queensland. You certainly hear it in New South Wales because it's the biggest racing state in the world. All this stuff getting played out in the media, I think, is detrimental to racing, and certainly you could argue that's prejudicial to the image of racing. These issues are getting played out by blokes like you and me and the general punting public, like on social media. These participants are labelled guilty until proven innocent, the way it's been handled, and I think that is detrimental to racing. And if there's an issue with that ride and the general punter wants to blow up, I think that's fine. We see it with the Saturday slaughter and all that sort of thing that we all get on Twitter and get amongst. But I don't know. I just think that the stewards just need to deal with these things in house, and then they can advise the associated media. Post outcome. This is what's happened, and this is why.
Yeah. And not drag it through the press.
It's got to stop.
I think you're right, and we sort of say it all the time. Like we see much worse rides up in Queensland on a week to week or day to day basis. And again, like it just seems like they've plucked one out of obscurity here for James, and it doesn't make sense. If you're going to do one, you got to do all of them, or they need to invest in better tape watchers and watch races and put them all under the microscope, and they need to back it up with something like punting form data or some more sophisticated analysis, because at the moment it just seems haphazard, and it's just like lucky number or unlucky number, 4, James McDonald come on down, and it just seems ridiculous and inconsistent.
And one of the things that's frustrating, I think, would be frustrating for participants, and it's we still need stewards and integrity people to police the integrity of racing. There's no issue. That's not what we're talking about here. So there's a couple of really good examples of a couple of jockeys that, due to the system, are getting, the rough end of the stick publicly. You got Ben Mellum, who had been charged. He's still riding under the rules. He can still ride, but basically between the time he was charged, the time the hearing is finally held, he's allowed to ride, and would be getting chastised on social media on a daily basis every time he throws his leg over one, because the public say he's a cheat.
Yeah, it's awful.
You got the same example with Bailey Noda up in Brisbane for the Vega 1 issue. Like, it's just unfair on the participants, the way this system works. We need to invest more in integrity, obviously, so we can have people that can have these cases heard. I understand both parties have to get evidence, but if you're being charged for running and handling, I'm pretty sure as a jock or as a participant, you'd be able to, get your evidence together pretty quickly to plead your case, and it shouldn't take 3 months to hear it. It should be dealt with very quickly. I'm not sure what the time frame is, but it can't be 3 months. It can't be 6 months. There's trainers on here, trainers in Queensland right now. Like, I think I read somewhere it's more than 10 anyway that are still training horses and have cobalt charges hanging over their head from 2018 that haven't been heard. So
it's just ridiculous. Yeah. And punters are being taxed up at the eyeballs, and we're at breaking point. So surely there just needs to be a bit of a review on how the money is spent and where it's all going, because at the moment they're just tipping it down the drain, and they should have ample amount of money to run the policing of the sport at a higher level.
Look, they're never going to get more money than what they have. We're talking about record turnovers at the same time that where punters are paying and bookmakers are paying record taxes. So how about cut some of that prize money to the big end of town and stop trying to line the breeders' pockets with inflated prize money and listed status races all around the country, which are a complete disgrace, and channel some of those funds
into integrity. Yeah, couldn't agree more. All right, Curls, I think we've taken up enough of your time. You've got a couple of big meetings at Toowoomba and the Goldie, and to finish off the deep dive of Doomben. So stay safe and warm up there, big fella.
Will do, mate.
Can't wait to chat offline. See you, bud.
Talk soon.
See ya.